All right, Danna. So thanks so much for coming on the show. I was thinking, how did we connect? Did we connect through a networking group or
I
somebody,
want to say
one of the
it was
websites?
through, I think it was through Podmatch or
Okay.
something. Yes, yes.
Yeah, I get a lot
We
of
get them
connections with
from all
Podmatch
over.
and Matchmaker FM and
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
podcast guests. They're good websites. They're good websites.
Hmm.
And you're a
Hmm.
podcaster too. You have a podcast. We'll talk
Yeah.
all about that. But maybe you could take us back before we get into MarketAtomy and what it does and the academy and all the great things you're doing for entrepreneurs. Maybe we go into your background and talk about, you know, where you're from and what your training was and how you got into business and all those types of things.
Well, I come from about 35 years within the architectural engineering construction market.
Okay.
I worked business strategy as well as marketing and business development within that industry, mostly on the commercial side. I worked through every single logistical cycle within that industry.
Got it.
So in 2009, when I was laid off from one of the world's largest construction management firms, that's how I ended up in Brazil. Brazil had just won the awards for both the 2014 World Cup Games and the 2016 Summer Olympics. So with my knowledge and experience, I knew what was getting ready to break loose down there.
Okay.
And we're struggling here. So
that was Rio, right?
Rio and Sao Paulo.
Oh, okay. They were both
Rio
Brazil,
and
right?
Sao Paulo. Yeah.
I remember that. Okay.
So I spent the next 3.5, 4 years working between the US and Brazil, creating inroads for companies here that were struggling to partner with companies down in Brazil.
Oh, okay. So you started helping entrepreneurs do business down there.
Yes, exactly. Okay. So I would basically work with the clients down there, the partners down there, get them to the decision table, introduce them to the different technologies, because understand Brazil was a good 5 to 8 years behind us.
Right.
Technology, in systems, methodologies, everything. And so I was basically working to get them to the decision table and introducing new systems. And, we ended up introducing steel technology, because Brazil was known for their cement. That's what they manufactured. But they just did not have the time in order to build the facilities and everything else that they needed using cement.
Right. So you made a connection and they built a steel plant down there?
Well, no, not.
Or they just sold them steel?
Yeah, no, we introduced the methodology, steel construction methodology.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yes.
So when was what year was that? How far back was that?
2009, 2010.
Okay.
Yeah, 2009, 2010. They were, Brazil was going through a major overhaul because they had won these awards and they had put a lot of effort into having these games turn things around for them.
Right, because it brings a lot of economic.
It does.
It does. Stuff to the town.
But
jobs and
unfortunately, as much as I love Brazil, they're like my second home when it comes to planning, which I am all about strategic planning.
Obviously,
when it comes to planning, they are terrible.
Yeah.
They are terrible. And that's what gets them in trouble, because they end up, overspending or, getting into a pinch as far as getting things done. They managed to pull it out, which was good. But a lot of those facilities end up sitting. They don't get.
That's what happens. Everybody leaves. The games are over, and it goes back to the way it was. And you made your money, and then what happens? That happened in China too, I think.
Yeah,
they're reusing some of the stuff, I think, from the Summer Olympics, but right?
No, but what we tried doing down in Brazil is to introduce to them. Okay, let's take it a step farther. Let's look at. They were in the middle of what they called the Pact 2, which is where they wanted to build, I think it was like 1 million homes.
Right.
For, those that were in the favelas and things like that, trying to clean up the favelas.
What are favelas? Like poor?
The favelas are the slums.
Got it.
The favelas are the slums down in Brazil. And so they were trying to clean up the favelas, but they weren't they didn't take into consideration, first of all, how these people who were squatting in the, who were in the favelas, how they would take to being relocated, first of all. Secondly, they had a tremendous issue as far as their labor force, because the previous president, Lula, had introduced a program that paid similar to our welfare system.
Right.
Okay. And as a result, there were a lot of people, especially in the favela areas, that said, why would I go to work for somebody when I'm getting paid the same amount through the government?
Right.
So their labor force was hit pretty hard. There's a lot of things that they struggled with,
Yeah, we learned a lot of that during the pandemic, right?
Exactly.
What do I have to wash dishes for when I make the same amount of money on unemployment?
Well, that's exactly it. And look at it. There's been, my understanding through reports I've read, there's been like an 84% increase in new business license applications since the beginning of COVID, and if we don't get a handle on, which we're getting into why MarketAtomy was developed, if we don't get a handle on the number of failed micro businesses, we're going to be hurting in a few years.
Yeah, there's no question about it, because the failure rate, it'll still be at the same percentage, but it's going to be a lot more.
It's going to be a lot more.
And usually those statistics don't even account for the ones that struggle and just keep going, but aren't really doing well. They're just surviving.
Yes, exactly.
So
back to your question, as far as where my background comes from, I've failed in business twice before. Right. So I know what these micro businesses are going through, and I know the struggles that they go through to find the help that they need in order to, succeed in business. And when I couldn't find it, it just, not only does it hurt the individual who fails in business, but the family environment is hurt.
Sure.
And the psyche of the business owner takes a hit.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So that answers my question. Then I was going to say, where did you come up with what was the genesis for the business that you run now? It was basically because you saw there was a need. There are some programs. I don't know if you have SCORE down there and some of these programs, but they're, they fill different buckets. They don't really.
Exactly it.
That's
exactly it. SCORE is a great program for introducing, small businesses to what they need to be looking at, and things like that. But SCORE does not bring what these micro business owners who don't know what they don't know about running a business. Okay. They don't bring that whole hand holding, that sequential help that they need.
Right. No, they'll help you write a business plan, get the thoughts together, but then you're kind of on your own.
Yeah. What do I do next? And that's where a lot of these business owners come in, is they say, okay, I've got a great business. I know I can make money with my product or service. Yeah. But they don't know how to build that infrastructure around that product or service to succeed. Yeah. And they don't know what they don't know when it comes to operations, to cash flow, to finance, to, marketing, all of that. Yeah. I jokingly tell them, you could have the best product or service in the world, but if you don't have customers coming through your door, it's like being pregnant without a way to deliver.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's funny that's why it's called the accidental entrepreneur, right?
Yes, exactly.
I always boil down. It's funny because I boiled down, if you really want to boil down a business plan, how you're going to strategically attack your business. It falls in the exact 4 buckets that you said, right? You have your product or service, right? But you got to focus on your marketing, got to focus on your skills, your people. Do you need people? Maybe there's things you're doing you don't know how to do, and your financials. And if any one of those things is ignored, it's not that it can't be dealt with, right? There are resources, your company, other things, but if you ignore it and you figure, oh, you're so excited about making this product, I'm talking to people in China and around the United States to produce this and that, and then you end up with a garage full of stuff, and you don't even know if the marketplace is going to buy it, what the price, you don't have any of that stuff lined up. You've just wasted money, time, and exactly. It didn't have to be that way, right?
Yep, that's exactly it. In fact, MarketAtomy was founded on a 5-phased growth process that, early stage businesses, new businesses, micro businesses, whatever, need to go through. And it begins with the actual napkin stage, seeing the business, deciding, okay, I'm going to go into business. What am I going to sell? That type deal. But then once you've done that, you need to make sure that it's going to be a viable product or service. Are people going to pay the money that needs to be made in order to, or do they want it? That's what we call the prove it stage or phase.
Yeah.
And then they move into the biggest phase, which is the build it phase. Because once they've proven viability and everything, now they need to start setting up those systems and those processes and the operations, the hiring, everything that they need, in order to facilitate the business.
Right. I find a lot of business owners skip the prove it stage.
Oh, they do.
And they jump to, they're so excited about their product and their service and this, and they start off and they haven't even asked the question, just because there's a void for whatever you do or whatever you're making, or that there might be a void because nobody wants it. I don't know. It's not that big of a deal to people, and you think it's a big deal. And yeah, I think, and I find that the good entrepreneurs that I've interviewed and probably that you've worked with, they constantly test, they constantly ask their customers. They're not confident, and they shouldn't be, that whatever the reason is, they think the people are buying their product or service, that they're correct. Because usually we're wrong, or it changes or whatever, and we're just getting lucky. And the really good ones are always asking and testing and trying different things. And hey, why did you buy that from me? What was the reason? How did that help you? And then they said, well, we needed to do this. And then you go, really? And then it opens up a whole, right? And then you build new systems around that. And that's the frustration that I have as a business attorney.
As a business attorney. Yeah, exactly. If anything, they don't think about the legal aspects starting out.
Oh my God, forget about it. They don't have anything in writing.
They don't think about the accounting aspects starting out. They don't think about how they're going to set up their business,
Yeah.
We all go through that as early stage business owners, unless you have an MBA in business and a marketing degree or something like that. In fact, when I had failed twice before, it was after those two failures that I went back to school.
Yeah.
Because I had a degree in marketing or an AA in marketing and graphic design. And I went back to school and spent the next 2 years getting my BS degree in marketing business.
Yeah.
And management information systems, which is database design.
Right. Okay. Well, failing in business is kind of like you learning what you don't know.
Exactly.
Right? You don't know what you don't know, but then you found out, wait, I don't know that. So you go back. And I think people could, if they put the time in, right? You could not get your own MBA online, but you can learn a lot. And the business owners that I know, like you mentioned, financials and accounting, they know their numbers, and they know, if there's some sort of a service business, they know how many new customers they need before they add another team to service these people. I mean, they have their numbers really down, and they don't have to be doing the accounting themselves, right? You can hire a bookkeeper, but you got to be able to look at them and know what it means and say, oh yeah, okay, we're there. We just hit 25 customers. Now we can add 3 people because we know what our profit margins are and everything. And people don't do that. They just willy-nilly. They're like, oh, we're busy. Danna, we're busy, so we better hire 2 more people. And you're like, okay.
Yeah. That's exactly it. I had a client I was working with. He was a physician, and they had spent a whole lot of money outfitting their office, building out, their
as doctors
office.
Do, right? Yeah.
Yeah, their office and everything, and before he had hired me. Okay. And then I'm in there and I'm talking to him.
And this was a new office, like he didn't have patients yet?
This was a new office, and it was
startup
urgent care office. Okay.
Oh, okay. So you'd think there'd be people waiting in the parking lot when you got there, right? Yeah.
So their reasoning for positioning where they was it was a very busy intersection, and they figured, okay, we're just going to attract the customers that way.
Right.
And then their hours were 8 until 5.
When people are at work.
Well, not only that, the doctor's offices are open.
Oh, right. Because urgent care, you generally go when your doctor's not available.
Exactly.
Right.
So after getting through that with him, and I asked him, I said, how many patients do you need to bring through that door in order to even break even? He had no idea.
No idea. I know that's the thing.
Idea.
Like doctors really think they could just practice medicine, all take care of themselves. But that's why a lot of them end up selling out to these hospital groups and stuff, because they can't manage themselves.
Yeah. And that's exactly it.
They don't realize that they're entrepreneurs, and they really are. You know who the ones that are good at it because they have less choice are the chiropractors. They're business people. And I think chiropractic school teaches them to be business people, you know,
Probably.
not in
Well,
medicine.
You know, the fact that I went back to college and got my degrees, you know, I was in a position where I could, okay. You know, I had a husband that had a job, a good job. I could take time off because my son was in middle school. We didn't want him being a latchkey kid. So I decided, okay, I'm going to go back and I'm going to get my degrees. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
my mom did the same thing actually when she was in her 30s. She never got a college degree. She went. Yeah.
Yep. But that's where I realized I didn't know what I didn't know about running a business.
Right.
Okay. I knew marketing, I knew graphic design, but I didn't know the business side of things.
Yeah.
So the reason I started MarketAtomy Academy was in order to bring that college level learning in an environment and in a manner that micro business owners could understand.
Sure. Yeah, because college is intimidating to people, especially as they're older. They're like, oh, you know, I'm not a kid. Why am I going to college? You know? Yeah.
But they can go to MarketAtomy Academy. They can learn how to put a cash flow together.
Right.
They can learn how to look at their systems and their methodologies and how to think more systematically. You know, these are the kind of things that we're bringing to the academy, so they don't have to spend the dollars or the time going back to school. This is a do-it-yourself environment. And every class or course offered through the academy comes with a learning component and an interactive component. So they learn, and then they move into an active component towards they build a strategy or a program customized for their business based on what they learned.
So they come out with a working model.
They come out with a working plan as opposed to becoming self-help.
Right.
You know,
figuring it out on their own.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, because you know, most of the time when you go to conferences and stuff like that, you learn a whole bunch. You come back, you're all pumped.
Yeah, you got all kinds of stuff, and you don't know what to do.
And then
with it.
nothing happens.
Right, of course. You have all kinds of notes, and if you look back, you were like, "I'm going to do this," and you probably can make a whole list of things that you didn't do. Definitely guilty of that when I would go to these marketing, get all pumped up, and then you know what? Some of that though is commitment to success in your business. And I'm not suggesting, and I'm not, you know, saying that people aren't committed to being successful. They all want to be successful, right? It's just that, and I forget where I learned that, maybe from my father, but it's probably an adage from 100 years ago, right? Is that successful people do the things that unsuccessful people are unwilling to do, not generally unable to do. There is time, like you said, you don't know certain things, you educate yourself, but you're not unable to go educate yourself. You can do that. And the ones that are relentless and they're learning and doing, and you know, and look, they learn very early on that just because you have cash flow doesn't mean that you're really in business. We learned that during the pandemic.
Well, I mean, a perfect example is MarketAtomy. Okay, when I started this, like I said, I back in 2009, I was working down in Brazil and stuff like that. But MarketAtomy didn't come about until about 2015. Okay. And it came about because while I was down in Brazil, okay, one of Brazil's city buses, rapid city buses, hit me crossing the street to my apartment.
Like you were on your feet?
I was on my feet.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah. So
I guess you survived because you're here, so we can talk about it.
I survived. And needless to say, I ended up, there was about a year there. I went through surgeries and rehab and stuff like that.
In Brazil?
No, 3 months down in Brazil.
And then you had to come. Yeah, I'm sure that's not, you don't
I
want to
couldn't
stay
come home because I had
stay there too long.
Collapsed lung and all that other stuff.
Oh, this is serious. You were seriously injured.
Seriously. I had 7 broken ribs.
Oh my God.
I had 2 broken humerus bones. I had 2 blown eye sockets. A hematoma.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
Okay.
And this,
I didn't know this was going to turn into a survivor story.
Yes, yes.
Wow.
I jokingly tell them down there that I am the poster child of traffic planning.
Yeah, probably you are. Oh, yeah. So
anyway,
yeah, and you couldn't come home for a couple of months until you were able to travel back, right?
Exactly. And
So you don't want,
understand, I was the only person that was my company. I did not have
right.
a,
You were a solopreneur, right?
yeah. So
Like a lot
things
of us.
kind of, yeah. But when I got back, what happened was a lot of the other colleagues, friends that had gone through the recession that I did back in 2006, 7, 8, 9.
Right. That was when the real estate market collapsed and everything. Yeah.
Right. They had started their own business, just like what's going on with COVID.
Right.
And they came to me and they would say, Danna, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I can't
Right.
seem to attract these customers. I'm bleeding money. What am I doing wrong? Well, in the process of talking to them, that's when it became blatantly obvious to me they didn't know what they didn't know.
Right.
Okay. So in an effort to explain to them in a language that they understood, I developed what's called the MarketAtomy concept.
So it was really just as a friend, you were helping them. And then you're like, wait a second, there are
There's
more
a
people that
business
need
here.
this help. Right. Exactly. It's interesting because your business is almost like it's a funny analogy, but the anatomy of a business, because you're creating your own business using the same methodology that you're now teaching other people. So,
Well, when you think about it, and it's funny you said that, marketing anatomy.
right.
Okay.
Exactly.
MarketAtomy concept is all about how a business compares to the human anatomy.
Oh, that's easy to understand.
Yep. So as I explained to them, in the process, because they were having problems attracting customers.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, in the human body, you've got the heart.
Mm-hmm.
And that is your why. That is why you
What
do
drives
what you
you.
do.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Of course.
It's the same thing in business.
Yeah.
What is your why?
Yeah.
It's not to make a whole bunch of money.
Yeah. Some people don't know what their why is, and they're just,
You've got to identify what your why is.
Yeah.
In the brain of the human body, it sends all the signals to the heart. It tells the heart what to do.
Right.
It's basically, well, in business, that's your playbook. Yeah. That's where your systems, your methodologies, your finances, even your product or service descriptions are in the brain of the business
plan is your working document.
Exactly. So I tell them, can the brain operate without the heart in the human body?
Right. Well,
No.
It's like the way we make decisions, right? We make emotional decisions, but we want to back it up with logic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Things that
and
make
I said,
sense.
it's the same thing in business. You need the heart and the brain working together.
Yeah.
To push your marketing message out through the veins of the body, which are your marketing channels, to the body, which is your market, your target audience. But when you think about it, the soul of the business is you.
Yeah.
You are the soul. It's your passion. It's your morals. It's everything that is you drives that business. Yeah. Because if you don't have all of this in place, you won't have those customers coming through the door.
Right. Yeah.
So that's how MarketAtomy was developed. That's how we came up with MarketAtomy. I showed it to my husband when I first did it. And he says, Danna, either they're going to look at it and say, okay, let's get started. Or they're going to look at that and they're going to run away because it's too much work.
Well, I think that's the problem. I think, when it comes to your heart and your why, right? As entrepreneurs, a lot of people are very right brain, right? They're very creative. They're excited about what they do. And they don't want to, they shy away from the left brain stuff, the stuff up here that you need to make the business successful. And that's what happens. And then they don't know their numbers and they don't know their cash flow and they don't have a game plan and, and all the things that go through it. And like you said, if you don't have customers coming, I mean, that's the lifeblood of any business. So if you don't have people that are doing business with you, all the other stuff doesn't matter.
No,
right. They can come to you, learn how to run their business, have all this great stuff in place. Nobody's walking through the door. You're at that big intersection and people just keep driving by. It doesn't matter. It's all the other stuff is kind of a waste. So that they got to figure that out at the beginning.
So when I was starting out, and my focus was on micro business owners. Okay. I always knew they can't afford my consulting services. They can't afford my mentoring.
Yeah, a lot of my startups have the same problem.
Yeah. And everybody kept saying, well, you need to focus on those that are already. And I said, that's not the market. That's not the gap in the market right now.
Right.
So I had to figure out how I was going to be able to service these micro business owners in a way that they could afford, which is where the academy came about.
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, that's exactly your problem, right? You find a marketplace that needs your services, but doesn't have the ability to pay for your services in the traditional
Right.
way. So
Right.
you figured out a way to bring it to them in mass and at a
And
lower
that's what it
cost to you.
takes.
And yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's what
Eh,
it takes. When
Right.
you're in business, you know what your why is, your passion is. You find a way to make it happen, and you go through and you break through those barriers that are going to keep you from doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how you succeed in business.
That is how you succeed in business. That's true. And, being relentless and perseverant and all that stuff is important. But yeah, I mean, look, finding companies like yours that can teach you stuff and allow you to do things at a cost that you can swallow. And then as you grow, you get a full-time coach. I'm sure you offer those services too. And you
Oh,
work
yes.
closer with somebody one-on-one, and you really become a mentor and you build your business. And by the way, I'm a big fan of, advisory boards, mentors,
Yeah.
because people don't realize that's what you learn when what you don't know, other people can teach you, and look, we know the most successful people use coaches. It's the unsuccessful people that need the coaches. They're not using them.
Well, the whole premise of MarketAtomy is it's more than just education. It comes with the accountability and the mentoring that is needed. Because, as entrepreneurs, we are going to hit those roadblocks, and we're going to question, did I do the right thing?
Yeah.
Have I done the right thing? And you need those coaches. You need those mentors to kind of guide you through that.
Yeah. And you need somebody to bounce things off of if you don't have
Right.
a partner. Even if you do have a partner, they may be as clueless as you. I mean, you're both trying to run this business. Just because you're partners, it helps because you can talk things out, but it's still, sometimes you need outside people that are not,
exactly
invested in emotionally in
Right.
success, in the shiny objects in your business that everybody gets so
Right.
excited about. So, yeah. So, it's interesting because I think that you have, confirmed for me what I think are the 4 or 5, not major steps. And then you see the steps that are big ones that people, skip. They really have shiny object syndrome. They really don't know, their numbers.
Yeah, the fourth step does get into after the build it and after you've proven the business model. Okay. The fourth step is the funding. People want to go straight from seeing the product or seeing the business into the funding stage.
Right.
What they don't realize is what they're giving up when they try and go for the money up front.
Right.
You've got
as opposed to like bootstrapping, right?
Exactly. It's, self-funded, those kind of things. Until you've got that proven business model, then you can go for the funding. But that funding is what leads to the growth stage. That's the fifth stage.
Right. But it doesn't have to be, not every business goes for seed funding and then an A round and a B round. I mean, those are founders, often high tech. Most business owners, maybe some friends and family help them get started. But for the most part, you don't have to be, raise $1 million or $10 million and then burn through it all.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. That's the first thing they think about when, a lot of them, when they first start out is, oh, I'll go for venture capital or I'll go for, angel funding, and stuff like that. What they don't realize is, first of all, they need to put themselves in the shoes of these venture capitalists.
Oh, yeah. You better be sharp with all of your
investors.
numbers and everything you've done, the market research and your product, everything, because these people are going to look at you it's hard to raise that kind of money.
Just watch Shark Tank. If you look at Shark Tank, the first questions they ask is, what kind of sales have you had?
Right.
Those kind of things. What kind of market are you looking at? Those are the things that you figure out in the first 3 phases.
Yeah, sure. Well, because if an investor is looking at your pitch deck, your business plan, whatever it is, if it doesn't make sense to him or her, they're going to move on to the next deal.
Right.
They're going to be like, well, this person doesn't know what they're talking about. So this doesn't, it doesn't work. But yeah, I think people just think they can go out and raise money. And it's, look, the most successful people, they'll tell you they talk to 100, 200, 300, 400 people before they raise their first $1 million, which is a very big cap table. You and I know if you have 400 people for $1 million, you're managing a lot of different people and a lot of different relationships, but that's what happens. But those are the kind of businesses where they needed the money to produce the product. I have a client of mine right now that I'm working with that has licensed technology for, what's the word? Like access using hand scanning, things like that, right? We use iris and things.
Yeah,
So it's another technology. Well, they've gotten to the stage where they've done all the work, and now they've done the prototype, they've done the amount. They have people that are looking to distribute the product. They just need to produce the product. So now through a small investment banker, they're looking to raise seed money, a couple of $1 million, but they're ready to produce this product. They have the person, they have the company to make it. They just need to make the device so they can start using it and selling it and testing it and things like that. But it took him a long time to get there. It took him a very long time to get there, of his own money and bootstrapping things.
That's exactly it. There's a lot of money that goes into development of a product like that.
Yeah.
And the thing is we've got so many young, not even just young, but older as well, but so many entrepreneurs out there that are very good at the programming and the development of these applications and these programs.
The product itself, the service.
But to go to market, they have no idea. I mean, I'm a database designer, okay? And I have developed an assessment platform, okay, that's still in the development stages. I don't do the programming. I design. I'm the architect, that type deal. And so I'm still waiting on them to finish just the last maybe 8% of this platform so that I can start beta testing.
Yeah.
I've already got the marketing all laid out. Everything's all laid out.
Right, because you're not the programmer. You need the programmers to do it.
But I need them to finish this up, so, but that's all they know.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. So this gentleman who has this product, he didn't make the product. It was through some other company, Department of Energy grant or whatever, but they're not business people. They're engineers. So they licensed it to him. He's a business guy, and that's what he's focusing on. Yeah. So but that's what makes these things happen. When you know what your lane is and you know what you're good at, there are ways to be in business and not try and do things that you're not skilled to do. You got to get other people in the loop. So, and that's what these people do. They make these things, whatever it is they develop, and then they license it. And then they let the people who know what they're doing, marketing and building the product, do that portion of it.
Yeah. And sometimes licensing is the answer. Sometimes it might be just hiring somebody to do the programming or do this or
joint venture or something like that.
Or something to that effect, but understanding where your weaknesses are and being able to rely on those experts to help you where your shortfalls are.
Sure. Well, the death knell of any business owner is he or she thinking they can do everything themselves. Yeah.
No, that's exactly it. Or thinking that it's cheaper for them because ultimately it ends up costing them more.
Right.
When they try and do it all themselves.
Much more time, energy, of course. No,
when I have to, as a solo entrepreneur, I'm not really, I work with gig economy and stuff. So I have a team that I work with, but as a solo entrepreneur, when I'm thinking about, like I know I have to do this marketing or I have to do this and it's going to cost this much, and stuff like that. I also know as a strategist, I can't do my own strategy. I cannot, work on my own strategy. So I have a strategist that works with me and I work with him and he says, okay, here's what we need to do, and everything. I said, okay, what's the cost going to be and everything? And he tells me, and I say, okay. I says, your job is to make that happen. My job is to find the money so that you can make it happen.
Exactly. That's they're supposed to do it. That's your job. Right.
Yeah. My expertise is going out and finding the money, either with products or something. And that's the way you have to look at it. You have to look at, just because money's not in the bank account right now, you have to look at, okay, what can I do today that's going to help funnel those funds into what I need to do?
Right.
Yeah. So you can't base business decisions on what is in your bank account right now.
Right.
But at the same time, if you go for a loan, if you decide that the way you're going to do this or fund this is you're going to go for a loan, or, an equity loan or something like that, I tell my customers, if you're going to go for an equity loan and put yourself in debt, make sure that debt goes to revenue earned.
Right.
Okay? Because the money
you can pay it back.
You want it paid back.
Right.
Okay. You don't want to invest in something, in some kind of capital or something like that, that is not going to generate revenue. If it's a fleet of trucks or, or something like that, that you need in order to do your business, that's one thing. If it's marketing costs, marketing is going to bring in revenue,
Right.
as long as you do it the right way.
Right. Yeah. No, understandable. All right. So let's go. I don't know how much time you have, but maybe we can go through MarketAtomy and, if somebody comes to MarketAtomy, what do they go through? You mentioned the 5 phases, but where do they start? With the academy, do they start working with you? What's the whole experience is what I'm asking.
I would say that the first thing they want to do is they go in and register, no charge, just register with MarketAtomy.academy.
Academy, just like it says on the screen.
Just like on my screen.
Not .com, .academy. We'll put a link in the show notes, but okay.
Right. So go ahead and do that. And then you can go in and you can look through the academy. You can see the types of courses that we have in there. We have about 70 right now, I think. But
and these are video courses?
And some of them are video, some of them are PowerPoint, some of them are just, words per se, written, all of them very graphically. It's a very clean, easy to follow site. Okay. We have set the academy up so that they can easily go from what do I do now? What do I do next? That type deal. They
can just follow the steps.
Right. And the courses, they are all primarily within the range of, say, $25 to maybe $65.
Oh, so everything's affordable.
Within their price range. There are some of them that are series. So you do have prerequisites. You go through, the first one, second one, third one,
well, the third one wouldn't make sense unless you did the first 2, right? Yeah.
And then by going through the academy and registering with the academy, they're immediately put into our system. So they will get notifications when new courses come on, that type deal. They can go and sign up for courses. The nice thing is we have it set up to where's on our pricing strategy, they can purchase banks of credit. Okay. At a discounted rate. Okay. So up to 25% discount off of what the cost would be, say, for 50 credits.
Right. So I understand. So if they pre-buy
credits,
they're doing
a
discount.
And then, credit. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
As opposed to dollars.
Right.
So, so we've really taken into consideration a lot of that. With the academy, you also have access to our monthly, sometimes 2-3 times a month, free information webinars.
Okay. Which are given by you?
Yeah, by me, by my strategic partners. They might specialize, in something like that. For instance, right now I am partnered with the U.S. government on creating awareness and driving micro business owners into the no bid federal contracts side of things. Right now is a time
I think I saw something about that on your website. Yeah,
you want to get involved in federal contracting, and micro business owners don't have that experience.
Right. And federal contracting in what areas? What kind of things do the government?
Landscapers, handymen, house cleaning or commercial cleaning, all different. We've got over 400,000 federal buildings throughout the United States. All of them
they're all looking for, and it's all a bid process.
Yeah. IT services, management consultants, all of that. So that is one of the programs. As part of MarketAtomy Academy, you will have firsthand information on a lot of this stuff so that you can get involved. Right.
Very good. Very good. So
blue
collar, white collar, gray collar, the whole thing.
Exactly. We want to be the resource for micro business owners to get whatever information they need, the resources they need. Ultimately, my goal, what you call a BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal.
Of course.
Is to get in front of Congress and get a bill passed so that if you're going for a new business license and you show that you've been certified in business courses, you're prepared to run your business, that you can qualify for incentives, federal incentives.
Like grants or whatever.
Grants and stuff like that. You show that you have done the work that needs to be done in order to effectively succeed in business.
It would, there's a lot of resources out there, but a lot of it's hard to get to, or they don't understand it, or, you know, so you're kind of
I'm a
bringing that
firm,
together.
yeah, I'm a firm believer that if we can make a dent in the number of failed businesses and help those businesses succeed, it's
Yeah,
going to pump more money into our GDP.
no question about it.
It's going to strengthen our labor force and strengthen the psyche of the business owner and their family environment.
Yeah, you mentioned it before, and it is a question still. You had a lot of people, you know, they call it the big quit, right? Everybody went and
Big
quit their
retirement.
jobs and said, well, I don't need to do this anymore. My life's more precious, and we got to die and all this type of stuff. But now you have all these people forming these small businesses, and, you know, you wonder how many of them are going to succeed, you
Right.
know, that they won't have to go back to work, or it's, you know, because it's not for everybody. It can be, but a lot of
Yeah.
people don't take the time to say, okay, well, maybe I don't know this and I better learn it. And I think that's what, I mean, certainly what you and I are, you know, the word we're trying to get out to people. But I think just human nature is that there's going to be a fair amount of people
There
that
is. There is.
not always fail, but maybe give up. You know,
Yeah.
they don't want to do the things
It's
they need
too
to do.
hard, you know,
Too
or something
hard.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Especially
exactly.
when you're talking about the baby boomers and stuff like that are up there and they're getting close to retirement, you know, and they realize, okay, I need this side hustle to help me manage finances in retirement, you know, that type
Right.
deal. You know, the government didn't do us any favors with our 401ks, you
No.
know, and stuff like that,
Right.
our Social Security.
Yeah, it's not enough
But
to live
yeah,
on in most cases.
yeah, no, definitely, definitely. So,
Yeah, so you
so
found these
yeah,
people that are going to
that's,
have to work in retirement, basically.
yep, that's exactly it. So that's pretty much what MarketAtomy is all about. You
All
know,
right,
we
good. So I know
yeah,
people can connect with you on LinkedIn, right? You're on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
Is the main site marketatomy.com, and the academy is a piece of that? Okay. So if they
Exactly.
went to the .com, they would still get to
Yes, the
the academy
academy
and
is
all
there.
that stuff.
There's a tab for the academy. Yeah,
Very
exactly.
good. Yeah.
And then we do have some books that are out there. You can go under my name, which is DannaOlivo.com.
Right. I saw that
Okay,
you have
so
a
I
personal
have my
branded
own
site.
author page.
Yep.
So you can go in and gain access through Amazon for any of my books. I think I've got 5 or 6 of them out there.
Okay.
So
We'll put that in the show notes too. We'll put a link to that as well.
Yeah, exactly. And let's see. I think that's it.
All right. So people should go. They can sign up for the academy, but the academy's self-help, right? So it's not like the semester starts June 1st, right? You can start whenever you're ready.
It's evergreen, so they can go in and they can just take it at any time. You know, they get certified, there's certificates that they get, you know, quizzes, etc.
Very
So
good.
it's a full program.
Excellent. Well, Danna, I'm glad that we connected through these sites. They actually work to get good people together to share good ideas. And let's stay in touch and keep sharing our message that obviously resonates with people and help people improve their chances of success.
No, I look forward to it.
And I look forward to joining you on your podcast soon.
Yes,
to talk more about this stuff.
Really.
Okay. Thanks, Danna.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.